Greetings and welcome to my life cycle assessment video on Gatorade. So I'm sure everyone here already knows what Gatorade is, but for those who don't, Gatorade is a sports beverage that's marketed towards athletes and those who live a physically active lifestyle, manufactured and distributed by PepsiCo. So going over the 8 stages of the life cycle of Gatorade. At stage 1 we have the design. At this stage the mold for the bottle design is created, and we have the wrappers, the logo there decided upon as well. At this point, changes to the formula are also made because Gatorade does come in multiple flavors and versions. Stage 2, acquisition of materials. So this is where PET, known as polyethylene terephthalate, is processed from oil as a raw material from the creation of the bottle itself. At this point, the ingredients for the beverage itself are also acquired, and those ingredients are primarily water, sugar, salts, and the dyes. Currently, the market cost of PET is estimated about $780 per metric ton. For a typical 32 fluid ounce bottle of Gatorade, you're looking at about $1.20. And then we also have the non-market costs of PET, which are substantial given that PET does contribute to plastic waste and its composition from fossil fuels. Moving on to stage 3, processing of those raw materials. This is where the raw materials are processed into a form that can be used by PepsiCo in preparation for the casting of the bottle molds and formulation of the beverage. The input of recycled PET bottles to this stage is also limited due to their intolerance for impurities in the final product. PepsiCo does use recycled plastic, which is limited because there's only so much that plastic can be recycled because of this maximum tolerance for impurities. At stage 4, we're looking at the production. This is where the PET is melted together and poured in the molds, and the plastic bottles are created and ready to be filled with the beverage. Just one PET bottle requires about 8.42 megajoules of energy to produce from scratch, and that varies depending on the size and the shape of the bottle. At stage 5, we have the packaging. This is where the bottles are labeled, capped, sealed, and packaged, where they await shipment to the retailers. Stage 6, distribution. The final product is loaded onto these large semi-trailer trucks where they will be transported to their final destination. So just looking at one semi-trailer truck, the maximum they hold is typically 300 gallons of diesel fuel at a time. Just 1 gallon of diesel fuel burned produces about 22.38 pounds of carbon dioxide. So just some simple math, at a full tank of 300 gallons, just one truck will create 6,700 pounds of carbon dioxide. In 2019, the U.S. Energy and Information Administration estimated that diesel fuel in the U.S. transportation sector is responsible for 456 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. And that accounted for about 24%, a quarter of the total U.S. transportation sector CO2 emissions, and almost 10% of the total U.S. energy-related CO2 emissions. So, big contributor right there. Stage 7, consumption, pretty straightforward. You drink it. Looking at the water footprint, so per unit of beverage, one Gatorade drink, water use is 2.2 liters, and that amount is shared between the water that goes into the drink itself and the water that's used during the sanitation process when it's manufactured. The production of plastic alone requires 24 gallons of water to only get 1 pound of plastic. And if you look at the sugar, so 1 kilogram of sugar requires about 210 liters of water to produce. This is from sugar cane. And one 32 fluid ounce bottle of Gatorade has 55 grams of sugar. So for more simple math, at 210 liters times 0.055 kilograms, conversion of 55 grams, looking at 11.5 liters of sugar content in every 32 fluid ounce bottle. Alright, at the final stage, we have the disposal, recycle, or the reuse, depending on the route of the bottle. So following the consumption, the empty plastic bottle is either disposed of in a waste bin, recycling bin, or is reused by the consumer for other purposes if they so choose. If recycled, plastic bottle can obviously then recirculate into use to be melted down again to make more new bottles, as I mentioned at the start, for the creation of PET bottles. And again, stressing the fact that recycling doesn't, putting in the bottle in the recycling bin doesn't guarantee recycling, because not only is only 9% of plastics recycled, but there's that maximum tolerance for impurities during the meltdown process for reuse of those bottles. And then otherwise, of course, the plastic bottle will end up in a landfill or otherwise tossed aside where it shouldn't be, where you can see it gather up sides of roads or wherever it ends up. And of course, plastics, they never truly break down. I'm sure people have heard of microplastics. They're just breaking up into smaller pieces, and where they accumulate in our oceans, sensitive habitats, or just the environment in general. And that concludes my presentation. I hope you all enjoyed it, and enjoy your break.